Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel where we talk about adulting things that are difficult but no one really talks about. So, for today's video, we're specifically going to dive into how to be alone. And a lot of the times, I feel like that was one thing that I had a very big fear of for the longest time in my life. And I recently just learned how to unpack it and see why is it that I am scared and afraid of being alone. And I'm doing that right now. I'm actually living alone in my own apartment and it has been amazing. Honestly, I was so scared until I did it and I did it and it's not that scary anymore and I'm like, what is happening? So, the first thing is I'll give you a little bit of background about how I grew up and how I view life and how my society, people from my cultural background, view being alone as a woman in her 20s so that you can connect more and see why it can be difficult, not only on a personal level, but also from a social standpoint. So, people in my background, they take marriage obviously very seriously. And no matter how successful you are, no matter how educated you are, you're quite not successful if you're not married, if a man did not choose you yet, right? So, just as any other parents, that's actually very liberal. But my mom has always been like, hey, you graduated, you got your job. It's high time you find yourself a man. And it's not that fun to be alone for the rest of your life. So, that was just something that I was told all my life that I have to find someone unless, or else I'm not, sorry about that, but, or else I'm not going to be happy in life. And the ultimate happiness really just comes from being with a man, having kids. And when you grow old, you'll have someone that will come visit you. So, for a lot of people, obviously that makes them happy. And I also think it's lovely to be able to have a family. But this is reality. And this is a world where finding gentlemen has become extremely difficult. We're actually the first generation with people that have access to Tinder, Hinge, Bumble, OnlyFans, and so many of these online platforms that are not very healthy or help you develop very healthy relationship with your sexuality, especially as a man. So I think it is causing a huge disruption within our community because we have so many options, so much access to so many different things. If we don't want one thing, we can easily just dispose it and go to the next one. So I'm coming to a point where I'm coming to terms with the fact that no matter what society says, I'm not going to get married. I'm not going to choose someone. And I feel like a lot of women out there also feel the same way that I can pay my own bills. I can afford things that I like and want and need. So it's not really a priority to be married or to have a family anymore. I feel like for a lot of us, but we still have that urge from within us to want to have a family just because that's the normal traditional route of living once you graduate and you start working. Especially later on in your 20s, it's highly expected that, oh, when are you going to get married? Everyone else in your friend group is getting married, right? So the push is always there. There's always a constant force coming towards you, but the only way to fight it off is to have a very healthy mindset towards it and think that there's nothing wrong with not being married or not at least have a partner or a boyfriend or living together with somebody. And I'm also in a stage where I'm not even on the dating apps. I'm not seeing anyone. I'm not even willing to accidentally run into someone and just have a super galactically amazing love story. But what I am in the process of is being very comfortable so that I can build up a life for myself that I'm not only in a survival mode, but I'm also very much in love to be in that state and have that lifestyle to a point where a person comes into my life. I would only take that person in my life if they're worthy of being a part of my life, if they're being an addition to the amazing, beautiful life that I've built. And if they're not a good addition to my lifestyle, to my happiness, to the luxury that I want and need, then it's just not a good fit. And I think I'm getting closer and closer to building that where I don't really need another person. So, here are a couple of ways that shifted my mindset. So, first things first, if you're bored and you cannot stand being alone, chances are you don't really like your own company, which is a very big red flag. I'm sorry. Unfortunately, I was also that person. And if you cannot stand being alone, your likelihood of choosing the wrong person in your life and allowing wrong people into your life is going to be a lot higher than when you're content being with yourself and being by yourself. And I'm the living proof of it. I've had the most terrible ex who did the worst things, possibly a couple of the worst, not even a couple, all of the worst things a guy can possibly do in my life just because I could not stand being alone. I did not want to break up with him because it was just so scary. The thought of just starting over with someone new or just being alone. It was the scariest thing. And it took me almost 3 years to work on it and be where I am. And that being said, I also had friends that were not very healthy for me, but I still kept it going because I just didn't want to be alone. I just wanted someone's presence, even if it's shit. So now I've come to a point where all my friendships are amazing. I don't have a single toxic friend. I don't have any toxic friend. Thank God, mashallah. And I also don't have friendships where we absolutely need each other. Like, I've had friendships where we were bonding so much that we're talking every day, texting every day, meeting up very often. And it almost felt like we couldn't really live without each other. So when your friendships are to a point where you're codependent on the other person, that's also a red flag. I feel like before I used to be like, oh, I just really want to be close, have a really close girlfriend. And at one point, I realized if she's turning her back on me, if she's hanging out with another person, if she is doing her own thing and she's not responding to my needs and being there for me all the time, I started to resent her. So that's when I realized, no, I'm not letting her be her own person. And that's how she felt when I was busy meeting my other friends. That's codependency, right? So now I have friendships where I let them live their life. They let me live my life, and we're not dependent of each other. We absolutely love and crave each other's presence, but we know that it's okay that we meet once a week, twice a month. And it's because we're busy and we're adults and we're working towards what we really want, and we all support each other. So there is no longer any need for codependency for me with any of my friends or a romantic partner or my family. So I've had codependency with my family, especially my sisters. I love them so much. They're like everything to me. And when I moved out from home, living away from them was the most painful thing. And it still hurts me to this day. But from that point on, my codependency moved on to my ex. And then from my ex to from my friends to myself. Now I'm dependent on myself. So I literally saw a pattern of family, romantic partner, friendships. And when all of those things were gradually leaving me for some reason, it was all basically just teaching me a lesson at the end of the day that you need to learn to be alone. God will put you through tests over and over and over again just so you learn this one lesson that you need to love yourself so fucking much that nothing can shake your self identity and your comfort in being your own skin in your own body and being by yourself and being with yourself. And as long as you reach that, I feel like we're all going to be tested and we're all going to be in situations where we feel bad. 90% of the time, we feel like we're not enough. And the feeling of being not enough or not being worthy literally just comes from other people. That's how other people at some point, in some direct or indirect form, have made you feel. And that is why you're questioning your self worth. So if you build a self worth so damn strong from the inside and work on it really fucking hard, it's going to be really hard. Obviously, there's going to be times where people shake it a little bit, but it's going to be hard to break off the core foundation that you're building over time. And that's something I'm working on right now. And when I say it works wonders, and let me tell you a couple of ways that it works. So the first one would be to have a routine. If you don't have a disciplined life, if you don't have a routine where you wake up, you do a certain thing, and then you move on to the next, you're going to constantly feel like your life is fleeting. You're floating in the air. Nothing really feels grounded anymore. And the best way humans can really feel grounded is by having a routine. So for some people, they love waking up at 5 a.m., working out, going to work at 9, come back home, make dinner, and go back to bed. Over the weekend, meet friends. That's their routine. Some people have routines where they work remotely or they work night shifts. They just sleep during the day. Whatever works for you, stick to that. that gives your body a feeling, a sense of security because predictability. You feel like you can predict the next day, and that calms your nervous system down. So, one of the biggest things about human psychology, and I'm a big psychology fan, I read a lot of psychology stuff. And one thing I've learned is that our bodies, our brain loves predictability. We don't like anything that's not predictable. So, whenever you know when you're going to do the next thing, why you're doing it, what's the purpose for it, you will automatically feel very grounded. So, build a routine, please. That comes to number two. That brings us to number two, which is having a morning routine. Now, I don't care if you wake up at 3 p.m., but have something that's not just your phone, that's not just waking up, quickly eating something and running to work. Have something that when you wake up, you look forward to doing, and that sets the tone for your day. What I like to do is I have a mantra, it's in Arabic, that I say to myself that throughout the day, God will open up opportunities that will increase my knowledge in order to go to where I want to go in life. In order for me to reach my goals today, God will give me the ability to gain knowledge that will help me get where I want to ultimately get, if that makes sense. And that just sets such a good tone for my day because I just trust everything is happening for me. I don't ever feel like everything's happening against me. It always feels like everything is happening for myself. And I will always be benefited, even if it's a bad thing that's happening to me at this moment, but it will eventually lead to a bigger or a greater cause. It's because of a greater cause. And then number three is outside of your most important priorities. Obviously, first one's health for me. Secondly, work, because I love financial stability. I'm a Taurus. And then a third one is connections or family or belongingness or a sense of feeling like you belong. Obviously, if you look at Maslow hierarchy of needs, first thing is obviously security, shelter, and then it's belongingness or belonging somewhere. So the way to feel like you belong is by joining communities, join run clubs, join something that you really like to do. If you're not a fitness person, go do some artwork. There has to be something you like. I don't think I know anyone that doesn't like anything because obviously some people really like shit talking, and I'm like, that's also a hobby. Just go ahead and find other people that shit talk. Find something, find communities. There's communities for everything. You can go on Discord, Facebook. There's a lot of Facebook groups for meeting up people or new people. I personally, if I want to meet new friends, I go on Bumble BFF. That worked great for me. I actually have 3 or 4 friends that I met off of Bumble, and I'm still in touch with them, and it's going great. And the algorithm finds people that are similar to you. So obviously, you're not beating people that you don't really, you know what I mean? And then the third one, after all of that, is finding hobbies. Now, that is something I would probably rank number one. But the reason why I rank it after all of that is because when all your first goals or your first things, first priorities are met already, that's when you find hobbies because now your brain has space and disk. Literally, it has space and storage in your mind to focus on something that doesn't give you any return, if that makes sense. Because when I was in college, I was always chasing the next big thing. I wanted to get that job. So I didn't really have the power in my mind. Like other people obviously have hobbies in college, but I personally just didn't have mental capacity to have or stick to any form of hobbies. But now I do because I feel very secure in where I am and what stage I am in life. So get hobbies. And if I could go back in time, I would definitely get hobbies. It would probably make me less insane. So now you might say, so, speaking of hobbies, I feel like a lot of our hobbies are just so expensive these days. Let's say you're trying to do pickleball or you're trying to go pottery, at least in Toronto, $80 just for one class. How are you going to repeat that? So, I often struggle with that, but then obviously there is stuff that they can help ClassPass, or you can start off with clay, get a kit to start doing it, or you can do other things that are very niche and unique and does not require any money. So, what I like to do is that I learn etiquette from a lot of YouTube channels like Jamila Masaiva, and then there's Anna Bay. They give you really good etiquette tips, and they're professionals. They have done that all their life. And then I also like to learn about body language and what nonverbal cues mean to people and how you can use it to your advantage in life. Some other things that I'm very intrigued by is whenever I go into a bookstore, I always like to explore a new side. Before, I would only stick to psychology and I was just so closed off to other things. I'm like, oh, this is boring. I don't know if I'm going to spend 4 hours of my life reading something that just does not mean anything to me. But eventually, I started going to the geography section, the politics section, and I just picked up so many different books and I started to learn about them. Right now, I'm learning about how to make cocktails, and it's a cocktail making course kind of book thing, but it's based off of Hollywood. So, all the movies that you see, and there's a cocktail reference to it by famous celebrities. It's in that book. And every time I read it, I'm just like, oh, this is so fun. It's not something that you have to constantly read. You just open a random page, you learn about a random fact, and then you can just say it to somebody next time you meet them. And then you're like, oh, I didn't know that, or somebody actually knows that. And then you start making a conversation about it. And it's just so fun. A couple of other things that I like to do when I'm alone is self care. I have always been a very big self care girly. You name it, doing your own mani, your own pedicure, you're giving myself a massage, taking a long shower. Sometimes I would just go on self care shopping, or at least if I'm not buying something, let's say it's expensive, I would just go into stores that are super expensive, like Aesop or Lane. I love diffusers. So I would go into Lane and just check out all the different fragrances, and I pick out stuff that I would buy when I get my next paycheck, if that makes sense, if I'm not in a point where I can't buy stuff. But I still just go in just to explore and learn what I like and what I don't and plan ahead for the future. So explore new stores, go to new cafes. So I love going into different coffee shops in different parts of the city just to see the vibes over there. It's something very cheap. You can literally get coffee or matcha for $5. So even if you take yourself out on those dates where you just get coffee every once in a while, you won't really feel alone, and you'll just learn, oh, I like this coffee better from that place. So you just learn new things about yourself, and you learn and experience new shops in general. And then the next time you meet a friend, you can talk about it. So these are just a couple of things that just makes you more interesting as a person. So I've had a time in my life where I would only bond over relationship talk or romantic talk with my girlfriends. And I just felt like I was so inexperienced in so many different parts of my life. And I forgive myself for that. It's okay. I was naive. But now I learned that I can actually build friendships off of other things in life, not just career, romance, or movies. I actually know a lot of different things. I have a friend that I simply just talk about coffee with. We literally bond over coffee. And then I have friends for movies. I have friends for K-pop or K-drama. And then I have friends that we solely talk about religion or religious goals that we have and how we perceive our spiritual journey and where we're at, just touch base every now and then. And then I also have friends that are just on self help. Other people I touch, we cover fitness stuff together. We would go to the gym, do Pilates together. And even if those are expensive stuff, we just go for walks or runs. And that literally suffices for our cravings for fitness and shared goals in general. So, the more interesting you are, the more you're open to new experiences, and you will find yourself in settings where you meet people that you actually like. Because the world is very abundant. Your world is not that five shitty people that you hang out with. It can be way more than that. And that's me giving advice to my younger self, that the world does not revolve around those people that you've tried to please so hard. There are great people out there, and you're worthy of bonding with them. What else? So we have going to the gym. Obviously, whenever I'm really bored and I don't want to do anything, I don't want to intellectually stimulate myself, I just go to the gym, do a couple workouts, really simple ones, and then come back. It's just like a nice break and you feel better, like your endorphins are running. Video call loved ones. So if you have someone that lives far away from you, my family actually lives in a totally different country. So I just love to video call them. I call them every morning at least, and I speak with them at least from an hour to two. And that's what keeps me grounded, because I feel bonded with someone. And family, nothing compares to family. Family can be terrible. You might have disgusting relationship with them at times, but then family is family. At the end of the day, we love them, and they're just always there for you, and no one's going to be there for you just as much as your family is and will be. So these are a couple of my tips. What I like to do, I often also cook at home. Helps you save money, obviously. And when I save more money, I have more fun money to do fun things. So I like cooking at home. And then a lot of my time during the week goes into thinking what I want to cook because I get bored of the same dish very easily. Right now, I'm learning how to do water based cooking. It's Japanese style. So a lot of the food that they make are dumplings or noodles or ramen, but it's just simply very water based. Love that. It's so good for your skin. So I've been trying out different water based recipes for the entire week. And then who knows what will come up next week. And then I'll try something new. And then I can tell people, like, hey, this week I learned how to make this. So focus is when you're alone, you have the ability to live stress free. Because every time I was in a relationship, I was fucking stressing the shit out of me and I hated it. I never want to go back to a situation like that where I'm constantly stressing over a person and I have no control over it. I hate not having control over my shit and never want to be in that position. So when you're alone, it gets lonely. Sometimes you really wish you could get a hug. You can give a hug, get that boost of oxytocin. But if that's the case for you, get a cat, I guess. For me, I can't keep up with the cat energy or the dog energy. It's just too much work. But if someone was gonna clean up after it poops, he or she poops, I'd probably take a cat. But you don't have to or should have to depend on someone else just because their presence feels great. Your presence itself and alone should be enough to make you happy and grounded and feel at home. It is possible, I promise you, it is possible to feel grounded on your own at home while you're alone when there is complete silence. It is possible. You just have to work towards it. And if it feels impossible right now, there has to be something that you need to work on and you need to sit with. You need to give yourself time to process. There has to be some emotions that were never processed. And that's why it seems like a very difficult thing. But whatever it is, I promise you, you'll get over it. And it's actually very fun out here. So I'll see you guys next week with another topic like this. And thank you so much for watching my videos. Bye.